Hello everyone and welcome to our latest project video. We named this project the Summery Seaside bottle design, and I'm going to explain every step we took on it, from applying our crackling enamel to pre-painting the WoodUbend mouldings and trims. So, to start the project off, we first applied a coat of Posh Chalk crackling gel to the entire surface of the glass bottle that we had chosen to use as a canvas for this project. Once we had covered the entire surface of the bottle, except the neck, we used a Posh Chalk stencil brush to stipple the freshly applied crackling gel coat. This stippling motion allows the crackling gel to create much less uniform looking cracks once it dries. Otherwise, they will often just follow the direction of your brushstroke when applying the gel. Moving on, the next step was to pre-paint the applique and trim that we had selected for this project. We began pre-painting with the applique WoodUbend 2134, first spritzing its surface with water before using a Posh Chalk mouldings brush to apply Posh Chalk red alizarin metallic paste. This combination of making the applique slightly damp and using a mouldings brush not only ensures that the paste gets into all of the nooks and crannies of our moulding, but it also allows us to do so with less paste than if the applique was dry. We then moved on to the trim we'd selected, TR716. We first warmed our trim up with a heat gun while it was still in its coil until it was fully malleable. Next, we unfurled a small section of our trim and then spritzed this section with water before using a mouldings brush to apply a coat of Posh Chalk Brown Van Dyke metallic paste. Once this section was fully covered, we used the heat gun to simultaneously dry the freshly applied paste and warm the trim up enough so it can be refurled into a coil again. We then unfurled the next section of our trim and recurled the part we had just painted. As you can see, we repeated this process until we had a fully painted trim in a convenient coil for use later. By now, the Posh Chalk crackling gel coat we had applied earlier would have had a chance to dry, so our next step was to apply the Posh Chalk crackling enamel. First, we decanted a few scoops of crackling enamel into two convenient pots. We then added 2 drops of the Posh Chalk Royal Indigo Colour Kick to the first pot and a couple drops of the Posh Chalk Aegean Ocean Colour Kick to the second. The 2 pots were then thoroughly stirred until the crackling enamel was fully coloured. We then used a Posh Chalk Smooth and Blend brush to apply both of these mixtures to the glass bottle on top of the crackling gel layer that we had applied earlier. We used the same brush to layer both colours of enamel onto the bottle's surface on top of each other. This caused them to mix in situ somewhat, creating unique and interesting shades of blue across the bottle. As you can see, we force dried the enamel from a safe distance before continuing. Next, we warmed up our painted WoodUbend 2134 appliques until they were malleable enough to be adhered to the surface. Then, we applied WoodUglue to the back of the appliques, spreading it out with a small paintbrush until WoodUglue covered their entire footprint. Both of the appliques were then wrapped around the bottle and pressed onto the surface. To finalise the application, we heated them again in situ and pressed down very firmly. In order to highlight the cracks that had formed from our coloured crackling enamel coat, we decided to apply some Posh Chalk Snow White Aqua Patina to the surface using a small paintbrush. As you can see, we also used a paper towel to wipe the excess off of the surface as we went. This technique perfectly emphasises the cracks without overpowering the summery blue colours we had created earlier. Once the highlighting had been completed, we used the Posh Chalk Dark Brown Patina to create some shading on the appliques that we had adhered to the bottle earlier. We covered the entire surface of both appliques, again wiping off any excess with a paper towel to create a more subtle shading effect. Now, our final step was to get the trim we had painted earlier wrapped around the neck of our bottle. Using a small paintbrush, We then covered the neck of the bottle with wood glue. Even though we knew our trim wouldn't take up the entire space this glue covered, it ensures that there are no sections of trim that don't fully adhere, and any excess can just be cleaned off later anyway. We then warmed our trim up until it was fully malleable, before coiling it around the neck of the bottle. The excess glue was then removed with a wet paintbrush, before we finally warmed our trim up once more in situ and pressed it down very firmly to finalise the application. So, here is the result. We think this one turned out amazingly. It really captures that summery seaside feel that we wanted. But please let us know in the comments below what you thought of this design. And if we inspired you to start your own project, please let us know. We would love to see it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave us a like, it really helps us out. And if you want to see a new project video every single week, subscribe to the channel. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.